Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't been here before, my name is Tina from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. I'm a Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner, spirit releasement therapist, and intuitive empath. And today we're here with Karen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen. I'm a medium.
That's it. You shortened it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to warn you. I was going to cut it out.
So today we need to talk about archons and parasites and AI and all the stuff that's going on. By now, I'm sure most of you, if not all, have seen this photo floating around. Where did it go?
We've been having a lot of technical glitches.
Yeah.
Big Brother's watching.
Yeah.
So it's a picture, I
There it
presume,
is.
of
There it
the
is.
spider. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the archon. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know why I don't have the option to see you.
Okay, I'm here.
Why would I let me see you?
I think our first video is better.
Yeah, I already tried to do this before. Yeah, so anyway, you can see this creature. This creature is an Archonic Parasite. It's in the shot vials. Dr. Carrie Madej has talked about it. She actually saw this thing. We talked about it in the Black Goo video. She actually saw this thing was conscious and alive and actually popped up onto and looked into the microscope, like back at her, and knew that it was being watched, right?
I bet. How big is that? Is there like a size or? I don't know
Well,
it's nano, but I mean.
It was 400 times magnification. So I imagine that it's really teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is in the shot. It doesn't have a brain. It's just got these tentacles and nervous system. And
That's a lot.
yeah, and it's like a neural link. So not only did she see it once, but she saw it twice. Because she thought, oh, well, maybe it's a fluke. Let me try again. And then she saw this little creature down here on the bottom. And this time it was under a slide, so it was flattened out. The first time she didn't have it under it a slide, so it was able to move.
Yeah. Oh, so this is like squashed dead, or like they actually died?
I don't know if it's dead, but it was like squashed because the cover slip was on top of it, right?
Okay, got it.
But speaking of parasites, I'm beginning to understand that they are literally the cause for most illness on this planet. They are not part of the natural cycle of life. If you think about it, where do they fit into the cycle of life? It makes no sense whatsoever. They're alien to this planet. And according to Kim Gogan, who I've been observing for a little while, they were coming in every year from the dark sun. The portal, they were pouring in every year around the solstice, which is why that day is so important for the dark controllers. All of these days are, the solstice, the equinox, they use these days for their rituals. And according to her, Let me just bring up that document. I can never remember. The archons are like an AI system. And can you see this?
Yeah.
So she says that Archon's an acronym, and it actually stands for, where is it? Architecture for Cooperative Heterogeneous Online Systems. So it's AI.
Mhm.
And it's synthetic. These parasites are synthetic. They're not natural. And every year they were coming through the dark sun up until 2019. And then that dark sun was replaced with creator energy, and they weren't able to come in anymore because they only last like 3 or 4 years. Sorry, Coco's acting up again. Jeez. This is what happened in the last video we tried to film. So I'm just going to take you with me and let them in. Come on. And these things are everywhere, right? Like we've seen them in the masks, the little black fibers. Now they're showing up in water, in rainwater, pretty much everywhere. They're just blasting us with these parasites. So in 2019, they stopped coming through the dark portal in the sun. So then they had to come up with another way to get them here. So because that system, she said, this is what she says, because that system was replaced with creator energy and they're no longer able to come through, then the humans that are in control here had to find another way. So they created a system using their own technology.
Mhm.
And these are the parasites that are in all of the shots, and this is why people are getting sick with COVID like symptoms. It's actually, they travel through the frequencies using technology like HARP and DARPA projects and all kinds of stuff. So you guys can read this. I will link it in the description. But my awareness of parasites came in the summer when Coco and I were being attacked, which we've talked about before. And now we have new pieces of the puzzle. Like I knew we were being attacked. I just knew. And I was doing everything I could to protect us. And, you know, you had scanned him and you found those interdimensional parasites in his energy field.
In his belly.
Yeah. Which I'm like, okay, they're cleared, but I didn't put it together at the time to even think, well, maybe he has like actual physical parasites. And maybe that's why he was sick, because his heart was being affected. Right, Coco? I know. His heart was being affected. He had a murmur that went from a stage 1 to a stage 6, like overnight, really quickly it happened. And the vets couldn't figure it out. They just wanted to like get him to a cardiologist, get him on medication, get him stabilized and all that. But I'm like, there has to be a cause for this. This doesn't just happen. Like there has to be an underlying cause for why this is happening. And like 2 days after you did that clearing on him, at night he threw up worms, these little
Yeah.
tiny worms. I took him to, and if he would have never thrown up, I would have never known he had parasites and he probably would have died.
Yeah.
He probably would have died because he was that sick. So the next day I took him to the emergency vet and she says, I've never seen worms like this before. I was like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Really weird.
Yeah, they look like little chicken noodles,
Yeah.
like yellow noodles.
Yeah, they were, a couple millimeters. And the funniest thing, the craziest thing about it is, I gave him the dewormer and I never saw anything in his poop. Usually if you take an antiparasitic, you'll see something passing, eggs, something. I never saw anything. So I don't know if the dewormer dissolved them or I don't know. But I know in my heart now that that infection that he got came through on a frequency.
Mm-hmm.
I know that now because I know that that parasites can travel on a frequency. And that's partially what's happening now and how people are getting sick with COVID symptoms or any number of chronic illnesses. These are responsible for cancer, for herpes, for shingles, for all of the mystery and chronic illnesses that people have relate back to parasites,
Mm-hmm.
which are archons. They're not even fully organic. They're half, or if not all, synthetic organisms,
Right.
which is crazy. And when you start to dig into this and put the pieces together, you'll see there's a lot of information out there on this. Just for example, here's a um, NIH study, insect larvae as insect larvae biofactories as a platform for influenza vaccine production. Okay. So they are actually using Coco. Why? Let me pause for a second. So I don't remember where I was because every time I start talking, something happens. But these archonic parasites are like mind viruses, mind control viruses. So one of the other things I saw and what helped me to put these pieces together was a video of a cricket that had a parasite. And when this specific parasite is inside of a cricket, it literally takes control over its brain and forces
Is this a
it.
known thing?
Yes, it's a
Okay.
known thing. Yeah, if you could Google it and look up like cricket and parasite or even praying mantis. There's videos of the praying mantis and the parasites too and how these things function. They literally take over the brain. And so like a cricket, for example, this parasite will drive this cricket to go near water because it needs to get back into water to reproduce. So it will drive this cricket to water, even though crickets don't like water, and it will go. and it will say like jump into a pool or something. And the minute that cricket jumps into the pool, the parasite comes out. And it's like a really long parasite, like long, like a really
I need to watch that.
long worm. And there might even be two in there when they'll start mating, like literally as they're on their way out of this cricket. It is wild.
So parasites can mate?
Yeah, that's how they reproduce. That's one way they reproduce. This Archonic parasite that we see here in that picture that I showed that everyone I'm sure has seen. People are putting together now that it's actually a specific one. And this specific parasite is called the Hydra vulgaris.
I'll take note. Hydra vulgaris.
Coco's mind parasites do not want me talking about them. And my cursor's stuck. Hold on, you can talk for a minute.
Oh, okay. Well, as I talk, I don't really know. I only know what Tina tells me. So the whole parasite thing, I'm not surprised by. We have been seeing a lot more, like when we do the RSR clearings about the parasite, interdimensional parasites, especially when we do VAX clearings. So that is to back it up that they are appearing a lot more in the homes, in around the people, inside the bodies, and etc. So go ahead, Hydra vulgaris.
Hi, thank you. So if my cursor would work, I would show you a video, but apparently they do not want us to talk about this because like there's so much interference here. I can't even move my cursor. So the Hydra vulgaris is a specific type of parasite that can literally, it's like immortal. Scientists have taken it, cut it all up in pieces. They put specific dye on, like before they did that, they put specific dye on it so that like the endothelial cells, so it looks like exactly what that picture looks like with the thing with the tentacles.
Yeah.
So they put on it like green dye for the outside cells and then like pink on the inside. And then they took it and like put it in a blender and chopped it all up,
Mashed it up.
mashed it up. But they could still, because it was dyed, they could still see the cells and they were just like all mashed up into a ball. Over a little bit of time, it started to reassemble itself
I bet.
back into its original form. Like you literally cannot kill them. I
Even
don't
with
know.
fire?
I don't know. Like, I don't know what it would take. It may be an EMP or fire or I don't know. So that is really interesting.
So that is also injected inside?
That's what they think that tentacle thing is. They think it's the Hydra vulgaris. Because when you go to the actual website of, it's not DARPA, but it's a medical website. And they're talking about how they can use this thing to accelerate the future of humanity. They're actually, yeah, they're actually talking about it like publicly, but you know, no one has seen it till now, really. And on, she said, Dr. Carey was talking about it, and she said on the bottom of the website, they have this card, like a playing card that says, Hail Hydra. Hail Hydra. And she's like, I've never heard of anything like that. And someone told me that it's part of like some X-Men movie or something like that. Some character that was developed by the Nazis who then they would inject this mind parasite into people and take them over. Like that's the story of the Hydra in this movie. Whatever, I can't remember now. I
Like they'll
wish.
be able to control the parasite, therefore control the person.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's like what's happening with Coco right now. Like his mind parasite doesn't like when we talk about it.
Oh, he's barking again?
He's looking. He's looking in. Yeah.
Oh my God. So funny.
Yeah. So
Oh, Hail Hydra is from Captain America. I thought it sounded familiar. I think I watched it recently with Matthew.
so the whole Nazi thing is involved too, because then you go back to the Project Paperclip with all the Nazi scientists that came here to America and started these kinds of experiments. This is what it roots back to. So literally everything you see in the movies is real. Literally everything. And that's what people need to understand. Like when you're watching these things, they're not fictional. They're real. They're telling you what is actually happening. Just like that clip you showed me the other day of the self-assembling nanobots, like these in a kid's movie
Yeah, Big Hero 6.
from a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, I think it was a while ago. Was it 2015? 2016? Like that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, they show us everything. Like the stuff that's on Netflix right now, like blows my mind. Like what's it called? Midnight Mass.
Oh my God, yeah. That was a good one.
That was a really good one. Yeah. And it just shows you how easily people are falling for false light.
Yeah, and we're seeing that everywhere. So many people are following the false light and taking for granted that, just because you're channeling doesn't, and they're telling you that I'm a good being and I'm from the eighth dimension, that you're like, all right, cool, you must be. No.
Yeah. We've had so many clients and new practitioners that are, coming forward for help because, they open themselves up doing a hypnosis session to talk to whatever comes through, an imposter being, or even just to do like to work with the pendulum or tarot cards. When you open yourself up to do that without protection, you're opening yourself up for contact with entities. That's just the bottom line. We see it over and over and over and over again. And it's more and more and more now because it's literally like
It's infested.
it's,
It's really
yeah,
infested.
yeah. But back to the Archonic Parasites. So I ordered some ivermectin just to have on hand because I'm like, I do not want to go to the hospital. Like that is the last place I want to be if I get sick. And there's just a lot of stuff floating around out here. And I'm like, okay, well, I've done a lot of work on myself to heal from chronic illness that I had for a long time. So this is what happened. This is my story, my timeline of what happened to me. In around 2003, it was something like 2002, 2003. I was in Jamaica on vacation. I was in the best shape of my life. I felt amazing. I had lost like 72 pounds. I went to the gym every day. I loved to work out. I felt the best I ever felt in my entire life up until that point. I felt amazing. And I was in Jamaica at a market, just outside walking around at the market. And I felt like a bite on the back of my left knee, like right above my knee on the back of my leg. And I reached down to like swat it. And I saw this like thing with long legs, like long, skinny legs. And after I swatted it, it literally disappeared. It didn't fall on the ground. It didn't fly away. It literally disappeared.
It's like the spider that was just in the hallway yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, my kids saw the red spider once they got up, and they're like, "Oh!" and they blew at it, and then it crumpled and vanished.
Wow. And this is what I think is happening. I literally think we are, as a collective, we are moving through the fourth dimension. And that is why we're able to see these things in the physical now. Where before we wouldn't see it, we can actually see it now, just like we're seeing it in those pictures of the shot. Like it's actually manifesting in our physical reality. So back to the story, that whatever that spider thing was disappeared. Later that night, we had reservations for dinner. We go to dinner, and all of a sudden, I get really, really sick out of nowhere. Like really, really sick. I actually had to leave dinner and go back to the room. And I started vomiting profusely. Like I was really, really sick. And of course, I was scared to death because I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Jamaica. Like, what am I going to do? You know? But so I spent the whole night sick and then rested the next day, got rehydrated, got better. And then I went on with my life. And very soon after that, started getting really strange symptoms that no doctor could diagnose. I mean, migraines, just body pain everywhere, intense fatigue. Literally, my eyeballs would hurt and like throb. And, you know, I was a nurse at the time. So my medical mind was trying to, you know, do research and find what could this be. And I had no idea about natural healing or energy healing or archonic parasites or any of these things back then. You know, I was really young and naive. And the closest, I mean, I went to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor. Nobody could give me a reason why I was so sick. Nobody had a diagnosis. It was 10 years before I got the diagnosis of lupus. But before that, it was just like a brief moment in time. I remember going to the doctor and I was, again, he's like, oh, you know, it's probably just a virus. You'll be fine. I'm like, doc, you need to listen to me. I feel like I'm dying. You need to do something. Please do something. And he's like, okay, maybe we'll run some Lyme tests. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll do anything. Please. Like, I'll do anything. Yeah, run the test. So he runs the test, calls me a couple days later and says, we're calling you in antibiotics. You need to pick them up immediately and take them for 2 weeks. And that was that. You
So
have
you had
Lyme.
limes?
You have Lyme. Take these antibiotics for 2 weeks. You'll be fine. I didn't know anything at the time, right? And
Was
this
that
is
your
what
first diagnosis
that was
before
the
lupus?
first. That was the first diagnosis, Lyme. But you know, they say that at least back then, you know, Lyme was just an acute infection. You take the antibiotics and you're done. But it's far from the truth. Far from the truth. So I did that and I didn't get better, but I also didn't attribute it to the Lyme because I thought, well, I can't have that anymore. I took the antibiotics, it should be gone. And my doctor never followed up with me.
So fucking weird.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So
It's like they have no answers for you, so then they abandon you.
Yeah, I had no idea about chronic Lyme. I had no idea about any of these things. Not till years later. So there were other diagnoses too in between all that really didn't make much sense either. The anxiety was out of control. Then, the depression kicks in, and then, I mean, it's pretty much just a downward spiral from there, and you literally lose everything. But what I see now is that was some kind of stealth pathogen, most likely an archonic parasite. And it links to just last week. So all of that happened. I found out about natural healing just 2017 or so. I awoke, I had my awakening in like 2014 that year. And I was healing from a lifetime of, trauma and all the things. And it was in 2017, I came across the medical medium, Anthony Williams, and started implementing his protocol for mystery illnesses. I was like, oh, this makes sense. Heavy metals, these viruses, EBV, all those kinds of things. Now I know that it's not viruses that make us sick. It's parasites, not viruses. But I did all the things. I followed the protocol. I got a lot better. I got a lot better after I went through like a really hardcore, like crash course detox for about a year. And then I hit a plateau and I wasn't getting anywhere. That's when I had my NDE. And then after that, my healing accelerated and I did a couple quantum healing sessions. And then the rest is kind of history. I'm mostly better now. I would say mostly better. I would say I'm probably, 90, 95%. There's still a little bit of remnant energy, I would say, from whatever it was. So I got the Ivor, and just to have, but I'm like, something was telling me, just take one and see. So I'm like, okay, so I did. And initially I didn't have any side effects or anything. But I was also at the time taking wormwood and black walnut and a couple other new supplements that I kind of started all at the same time, which is never a good idea when you have a really sensitive system. So I was taking the black walnut and wormwood and the other supplements, and then I took the dose of Ivor. And it was about 48. So, and that Friday, so I took it on a Thursday. The next day was a Friday, and I was outside at the dog park, and something bit me in the exact same spot that spider thing did in 2003. Exact same spot behind my left knee, a little bit higher up on my leg, behind my leg. And I had pants on. So how did that happen? I still don't know. There was nothing there that I could see because when you feel it, you reach back. It wasn't a mosquito. So I don't really pay any mind to it. I go home. That night I was babysitting and I ordered Chinese food, which I never do. I never eat Chinese food, especially like order it. But I did. I ate a little bit of Chinese food. I went to bed that night, felt fine. And then I woke up in the middle of the night, like really, really nauseous. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? I'm just trying to like sleep through it. But it came on really, really strong and I had to get up and throw up. And it was violent. It was violent. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, you have food poisoning. There was also a stream of consciousness coming in saying the parasites are purging.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my conscious mind, my ego mind really believed that it was food poisoning. So it was kind of like not paying attention to the parasite stream that was there. Like there's no way it could be that. So anyway, that went on for about 6 hours. It was awful. And I spent the whole next day recovering from that. And then, rehydrating and just trying to recover. And then a couple days later, because when you take Hydra, you're supposed to take the first dose and then take another, I think it's 2 or 3 days later. So I was like, okay, let me take another dose and see what happens. And it was 3 days after that, the same thing happened that happened the first time. I got violently ill, but it was less this time. So then at that point, I knew this really is a Paris.
Did you use that machine? That was when you
Not
used the
yet.
machine.
No,
No.
because it happened
You had it
3
times, 3 episodes?
3 episodes. Yeah. So again, there was something also weird with that, whatever that bite was. It was the same exact feeling I had in 2003 in Jamaica. Like the same kind of like it comes over you all of a sudden and then you have to purge. So there was some kind of weird thing there. And the whole night it was happening the first time, as it was happening, the back of my leg was itching like crazy. And when I looked, there were two, it looked like 2 mosquito bites, but they weren't mosquito bites. It was something different and they were right next to each other. They almost looked like fangs, like something went in. And it was weird because when it happened the second time, after I took the second dose, it was 72 hours later that I had the purge. And we were supposed to connect with Jason that night. And I couldn't do it. And I was like, please check me, because we were online together. I was like, can you just check me? I really don't feel good. And you said you saw this big ant being here or something, like injecting something into me.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there was something with an insect and injection. So that's the puzzle. And I still haven't put it fully together yet, but there is something weird going on. That's all I can say. There's something fucking weird going on. And so I also was guided to get this device called the Zapper. It the original creator was what's his name? I can see his face. Don Croft is the original creator. It's like a really low frequency device, and you put it on your skin and wear it. Put these against your skin. It's really cheap, like $30 or something. And it's supposed to kill parasites like within a day. And I got it in the mail like 2 days after that second purge I had. And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
let me just put it on and see what happens.
Oh God. I know. I was dying over here. It reminded me of like when you had that cashew incident and I was just like pacing around. I'm like, she could be dead. She's full of toxins. Like
Yeah, I know. Well, I really did not, in my wildest imagination, I never thought it would work that quickly. I mean, I literally had it on for no more than 10 minutes. And I started feeling a little bit dizzy. And I'm like, okay, let me take this off. And I put it down, and then all of a sudden the nausea came on again. So it definitely works if anyone out there has parasites. Plus, my system was already, I guess, like overloaded from what I had just went through. So that wasn't, it just wasn't smart. It wasn't a smart idea for me to put this on at that time.
she's like curious Georgette. Just wants to try everything. All in or all out.
All in or all out, yeah. So that's the parasite story thus far. Um, and also for Coco too, because I've been keeping a close eye on him. And I noticed that after I give him dewormer or Ivor, I've given it to him too, really low dose, suitable for animals. If you look online, that's what HeartGuard is for cats and dogs. It's Ivor. That's what they use for horses. And they have the human grade too. It just doesn't make any sense that we don't deworm ourselves. It doesn't make any sense. And if you were to bring that up to a doctor, they would think you're crazy. That's why they're literally refusing it in hospitals, and families are having to go to get a lawyer to force the hospital to give them this medication. That's how you know there is something shady going on, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. There's a lot of connections here between, I really feel like whatever bit me was interdimensional. And if you look at Christopher Macklin's work, he talks about these interdimensional stealth pathogens. That's what they are. When you go after them, they just flip up into another dimension and come back when you're done detoxing. Like that's what happens to people. So, we have to find new ways in order to deal with these things. Like it's going to take you to go at it from every angle, energetic, physical. The fact that the physical medication is working is a really good sign.
Yeah.
That's really promising, and that's why they're trying so hard to stop it. And things like hydroxychloroquine and Ivor and quinine and zinc and vitamin D and all of those things. And glutathione too, and NAC. Those are good to have in your back pocket, in case you do get sick or even as prevention. Yeah, because what is the thing with something with the glutathione? I can't remember now. But anyway, these are the archonic parasites that we need to be aware of and detox our bodies from, because we probably all have them, especially if you have any kind of symptoms of any kind of chronic illness. I mean, I suffered for, I don't know how long, like
Almost two
15
decades.
years almost. Yeah. And medical doctors just don't know. They just don't know. You know, they just repeat what they're told in school. That's what I learned. This has been my journey in learning how the system works, being inside of it and being able to see it from the inside out. And then also, I mean, of course, everything I went through had a purpose, right? Because being able to experience what chronic illness is like and then have nowhere to go for help and having to become your own doctor. I mean, that's what this time is really requiring of us, is to become our own doctors, you know, and not to depend on the traditional medical community, to do our own research, to, you know, find ways to heal ourselves, because there's, as much as they suppress the information and the technology, it's still out there. You just have to know where to look, and you have to allow your higher self to guide you to the things that are going to work for you. So
Yeah. I'm going to be
yeah.
doing my detox when I go back to the States. I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah. There's so many other things I wanted to show you guys, but I can't move my cursor. I don't even know how I'm going to end this video.
I'll end it and then I'll call you back.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No.
Oh.
I already mentioned my little tidbit while you were away. Just finding like interdimensionals everywhere. That's about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're everywhere lately. Like in everybody's fields and in houses, outside houses, like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And sometimes they look like those spider things, right?
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of spiders lately in my apartment, but they're not there. Like I see them and then they disappear. Like when I do a double take.
Yeah.
So that's
Interdimensional.
happening a lot more. Yeah, definitely. So I'm like, ugh, go away.
Because it feels to me like they're drifting in and out of dimensions, and we're drifting in and out of dimensions as well. So it's like when we meet up, it's like a brief
Yeah.
period of time, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But because I can't show you guys all the stuff, I'll just link it down. If you haven't watched any of Stu Peters' show, just Google him. He has a lot of great doctors on there, and the video clips are pretty short, like maybe 15 minutes, less sometimes. Oh, another interesting thing. We've heard of a doctor that does like frequency work, and he found that as an unV'd person that he tested positive for the Pfizer shot.
Say that
Unv'd
again.
himself.
He
He
unveiled
tested
himself?
as an unV'd person. He
Yeah.
tested positive for the frequency of the Pfizer V. Yeah. So we know, and there's been, this is new. I haven't had time to research it yet because I just saw it before we came on. But there are what is her name? Begins with a K. Karen something. She's been on Stu Peters' show though. That's a really good show to follow. She's worked for all these companies, and she actually brought out patents of how the technology in the bees work, and hook into other people. Like there's actual diagrams.
Wow.
Yeah. About how they can monitor, like the technology within the person can monitor those around them and know who's unvaccinated. So then shed to that person. That's what it looked like to me, but definitely worth looking into. But there's so many different remedies, pine needle tea and I mean, you just have to look around out there. And I'll link some stuff down below too. Um, I would just recommend to limit. I would never say like, don't see your family members or your friends or whatever, but try to even limit the amount of exposure that you have. I know that when I go out to any big public places, that especially somewhere like Walmart, because they are, not only are you around all the people with the shot, but they're also literally zapping you with frequencies as you walk through that store. If you see the monitors they have in there, and watch how they work, they literally like have a little yellow square that follows everybody around the store. So in order to do that, they're zapping frequencies at you. And if you stand still and even move your finger a little bit, it will pick you up. So that's a thing. And plus, I think there's like, DFEs and Archons. It's just like a portal to hell in that store. But
Yeah. Yeah, I have my fair share of like being around vaccinated people. It's actually caused me to become incontinent sometimes, which is a thing apparently. And then I was fine after a while, and then I saw my family again, and then it happened again. So I'm like, all right, yeah, we're a diaper now.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm okay. I'm okay now. It's been a while, so I've recovered. But
So you
but
recover.
I haven't.
So
I've recovered, but I haven't had my period, and it's been a while now too. I had 2 periods back to back, like 15 days apart, and then now but I'm going on to 40 days.
wow, that's really odd for you.
Yeah, I'm at
You
the
were like
28,
clock.
33.
Yeah,
Every month. No, I'm late.
that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. So all of this is, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the Black Eyed Baby videos, but they're really concerning. Yeah, they're really concerning. It really, there are videos out there where they what is it?
Traumatized.
Dramatize um, the videos of the
I
kids
still
like
feel there is some truth in it.
crawling at 2 weeks and things like that. But that one baby, the one that's literally a newborn sitting straight up with the black eyes, that reminds me of a gray. And what are grays? Grays are humans that have taken the route of transhumanism and ended up without an emotional body, without a connection to their heart, devoid completely of emotion, only only their logical brain. And they're also half synthetic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we are seeing the beginning of the gray, like the beginning of the human race shifting in the grace. Like, that's what it feels like to me when I'm looking at that. I'm like, holy shit, it's happening. Now, there are two divergent paths, right? Like we talk about the bifurcation all the time, or the splitting of two worlds. And there's the inorganic path, the path to transhumanism, and then there's the organic path, where we're sovereign and not associated with any of those things. And something crazy I heard, I forget where it was just today, and a healer had commented on a thread and said, my client was told in a session to put her bare feet on the ground to remind her body that she is human.
Jeez. So basic. It's fucked. That's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. Like we're actually watching it happening. Like all the things we talked about, you know, as kind of just ideas, it's happening. Like it's coming to fruition. Like we're seeing it happen. I keep getting these really high frequencies in my ears. Now it's my right ear.
Mm.
Yeah. But we're seeing it actually happening in our physical realities, and it's wild. Like it's crazy to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I saw another video too. It was this this creature, and it was so sad. It looked like they had tried to breed a human with a pig or something. And you could tell this creature was suffering, you know, like I just don't know how people can do these things. Like they're really sick. This is the thing. These people are really, really sick. Really, really sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like things we could never imagine, you know, that they have no problem with. Um, yeah. So that's our talk on parasites, our cons for the day.
I
And
know.
AI. We should do another video and talk about all the other things we've seen in sessions. And yeah, you
Yeah,
want
we
to do
see
that?
some special sessions.
So mad that like I can't show you guys this stuff, but I'll link it down
I'll link
below.
it.
And we'll see you in our next video. Thanks for hanging out with us. I love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Oh no, it's still recording. That didn't work. Karen's calling me and I can't. Well, hmm, yeah, what is happening? It's weird. It's a color or something. Hmm. I don't think they like us talking about this. I think that's part of the reason for all these messages. Yeah, they make it really difficult so that you don't want to do it. No reason for my cursor to be frozen. Stuff we deal with. Mm. Maybe if I turn it off. Let me try to turn it off. That work? Looks like the camera's still no.